Michael, I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but it's really good to see you.
Well, thank you.
Now,
It's
honestly, I miss you boys. It's been difficult times, hasn't it?
very difficult. For everyone, and I'm in a lucky position, where I live, and I've got a bit of land around me, and I feel so sorry for some of the people which are stuck in apartments or flats or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and but I've dearly missed the racing, and like you say, meeting people, meeting all your friends. I've been racing for 31 years, and the people you meet, you just forget who you normally see them every few weeks, and it's all gone. Even like over the close season, and it's just been a build up to looking forward to the TT. Then TT's being cancelled, then the Northwest being cancelled.
Yeah, the difference is with a normal close season. When you've had a normal season, you're looking forward to another normal season. You know exactly what you're dealing with. You know when the first meeting is. You know when you've got to get your bikes built, and especially now you're team managing kind of and team owning. You've got something to work for in a normal season. This year, it hasn't. It's just like it's been a state of flux the whole time, hasn't it?
Well, it's like exactly right, because like we've had Macau normally we're off
Cancelled.
in November. Then we've got the NEC bike show.
Yeah.
Then you're off testing in
Wherever
February,
Spain,
March.
yeah.
So it never stops, but now it has.
Yeah.
And it's been very difficult. As for Bathams as well, till they open the doors, we don't know when it is. Hopefully it's going to be very soon, but more than likely it's going to be, hopefully end of March, April, May, could be. We just don't know. So finding sponsors and keeping all the sponsors I've had for so many years.
Well, just kind of say you've been really good at keeping the same sponsors. Quite loyal to you, they've been, haven't they?
I'm so lucky. I've got a group of sponsors which I've had for several years, even more. Batham's been, I think it's like their 13th, 14th year. So it's and it's hard for them, and I've just backed off really, and just hopefully when things pick up, we'll get start speaking a bit more, and it'll all end up hopefully okay again. It just needs the world to start up again.
What do you miss most about it? Do you miss? It's a weird time for you because you're just on the cusp of kind of retiring. You're doing a little bit of racing on short circuits when you want and where you want to keep you sharp for the roads, and do the sort of Alaman and the Ulster and the Northwest. So you're missing things because of COVID, but also you must be moving into that missing racing because your life's moving out of racing as well.
Exactly, and what you said there is like those meetings like the TT and Northwest especially, which I really, really enjoy doing. I love going to do British Championship, like Thruxton's, places like Brands Hatch, anywhere where there's no stop and go corner stuff. And like Macau as well, going all over there, and just the whole enjoyment of the whole thing.
Holiday, yeah.
It's a massive change for us as well. And every year goes on as well. Like I'm 48 now, I'll be 49 in April. Next time I'll be sitting on the grid at the TT, and I'm probably road racing. I'll be, virtually 50 years old. So it's a scary thought.
You're probably the fastest 50-year-old or almost 50-year-old that I know. You're still flipping sharp, even on short circuits. You're not too far away.
Oh, it's a bit of a shock really, because I hadn't rode all last year, and I ended up going to Brands Hatch to do the last one, because we did a colour scheme with my dad's bike, and just to do a bit of a celebration for him, and it shocked me massively.
Well, how quick people were.
Oh, I just like, and how unfit I was, because normally when you're racing, you're doing stuff, you're keeping yourself fit. I've never been one for training anyway, but just riding bikes all the time, so kept me fit. But Brands Hatch about lap 10, I was like, oh my god, and there was people passing me, and I was like, oh my god, this is just embarrassing. So
yeah, but do you think? For me, that must be because you're a little bit rusty because you haven't been on a bike, but actually you're just trying too hard when you're just not sharp, and that knackers you out. But in actual fact, I used to follow you and think, You could do that all day.
Well-
You've got such a relaxed style. You don't even need to be fit to do what you were doing, or the way you were doing it.
We qualified 11th, and I thought, right, in the race, I'm going to hang on. Do whatever it is, I'm just going to hang on. And actually, I wasn't tired, real physically tired. It was like I had arm pump up and brake. You couldn't feel the brake and the throttle, and it was like just because you're knackered, really. But it was. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't want to finish. I hated finishing. I think I ended up 16th in the end, and I got past on the last lap. I was so annoyed. I never get past the last lap. It's the lap you've got to try as hard as you can on, and I let myself down big style. So I've got to have another go.
Racing heroes and starting in racing, you were a little bit. Either it's going to be lucky or it's going to be unlucky, depending how you look at it. Your dad was a top line, world champion and raced at the highest level in a lot of classes as well. Was that an advantage? I guess it was. You knew the paddocks, you knew the people, or
I think it was a massive help for me at first.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with it. I knew where the pit lanes were, where you come in the pits to go.
The way it worked.
Stupid, yeah. The things where scrutineering was, where the simple things where you can imagine being plonked in that environment and not knowing anything. So yeah, but then I think it held me back when I got better, because everyone expected you to do well, and then
well-known name.
Exactly, and then whoever my dad upset, or
you upset a few, your dad.
Yeah, probably did, and we've been doing a book about him now, because we did Life of a Racer with me, and a load of people said they wanted to know a bit more about my dad's career, and I did. I know bits and pieces, obviously, because I grew up with him, but we've been speaking to people in volume 2 of the book. It's going to be all about my dad, mainly about my dad, and a few stories we've come put in Life of a Racer, and I've been listening to some of the stories, some of the old mechanics, what used to work with my dad, and some of the friends of my dad when he was growing up. So we've got some things I've learned, which, some things I can't repeat, but some of it was real good stuff.
Yeah, I talked to Mick Grant a lot, and Mick Grant was a good friend of mine and a mentor of mine growing up, growing up in my racing, and he was a on-track rival of your dad's in the real early days of 250 and 350 world champions. These were Grand Prix he were doing on 250 and 350 AMs. And I don't think he was ever a big mate of your dad's. I don't think they ever hung about together in the paddock, but he said, hard man. He was an hard man with Tony.
Well, I was talking to Roger Marshall about it, and Roger said he got quite close, and my dad rode with him in Honda Britain in the World Endurance.
Yeah.
And he said my dad had his own kind of group, and basically kept himself to himself. He was very quiet, my dad was.
Yeah. I think that's what Mick meant, really.
Yeah,
not,
and he was he just hung around with the certain people he did, but I think he enjoyed himself.
Yeah.
Well, I know he did.
Yeah, I think he did, yeah. Racing heroes, do you have any?
Loads, and always one comes to my mind, and I met him properly at Suzuka, was Kevin Schwantz. From when I was growing up, I just used to love his style, how he was, and he was just complete lunatic.
Yeah.
And whatever he could do with a bike, he was just unreal. And I rode with him. We did Suzuka 8 hours riding for Honda, and this person passed me, and I found out it was Swans. I thought, God, he's got just like a style like Swans, and he was like 50 years old, and I was like, and he come past me, coming onto the back straight at Suzuka, and he was spinning it up like he did with the RGV with the 500. And I was
a spoon curve.
Oh yeah, it was just like, and I followed him for like 3 laps, and it was the best. I can still see Swans hanging off how it was. It was fantastic.
Do you know, I was privileged enough to be on track with Swans 3 or 4 times, most on super bikes, but actually on my first ever 500 Grand Prix in '92,
wow.
he was a potential winner. I definitely wasn't. Yeah. And I remember in first practice session, didn't know my way around Magny-Cours, didn't know 500, really flipping out with depth, to be honest, but trying hard. And there's a big right hander onto the back straight at Magny-Cours, and then up the hill towards Adelaide Hairpin. And he knew it was me because I knew him from Superbikes. I knew him from him being a Suzuka rider and me being a Suzuka rider in the UK. And he came past, things moving like that, and he went, It's an force.
Kevin Schwantz, yeah.
Just let me miss him if anything happens.
Yeah.
If you could go back to any era of racing, people have their favourite eras. I'm sure people now are looking at Motor Grand Prix and think it's brilliant racing. If you're 20-year-old now or 15-year-olds now, you're going to look back in 20 years and say, yeah, that's what it. 2020, brilliant season. Which year would you go back to? And I mean, you're a racer, so we're talking about going back to race.
Like I was saying, I've been doing it 31 years, and I've seen the good and the bad bits about you going up and down, and with sponsors and sponsorship and how it's been. Like when I first started, I thought it was fantastic, and I think going up to about 2000, 2001, 2002, but it was just everything we did was just it was good fun. But I was around when my dad was racing, and I remember like at Alton Park, there was a bar up the top, just above the pits. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah,
and,
I remember it.
There were people drinking, and racing. It was. I think my dad's era probably. What my dad told me about it, and I think it wasn't too many motorhomes, too much, because there's that much set up now, and until you do it personally,
you don't know what's involved.
You don't know what's involved with it.
Yeah.
We've got an Arctic now with a super stock team. It's just madness, and we pull up and you spend a day setting the garage up, and a day taking it all down, packing it all away. You've lost 2 days of your life just getting back and forward to a circuit. Before you just throw it all in a van and put it all out the other side and go racing. It's that part of it's gone a bit mad, but we still have good times. I think, especially with the road racing family kind
different
of thing.
feel to the paddock, isn't
It's
it?
a different world altogether. But short circuits, I think it was probably better in the 70s and 60s for the atmosphere in the paddock, because there used to be a bar obviously at the paddock, and everyone used to go to them. Everyone used to go to them, and I remember seeing everyone in there. Everyone used to gather up and have a bit of a socialise.
Yeah. Is it possible today in these times for an enthusiastic and talented rider with a van and a bike to go and win at national level anymore at any class?
Yeah, I think if you're a good rider and you got a good bike and you got a good mechanic, you don't need a truck to go quick. What you need is the right people around you, and you need a lot of luck, which as well. But I mean, I think the right small team in a right, with a van and a bike and some spares. That's the backup. That's the problem we have with. You have to be ready for anything, and snapping one of these new BMWs in half. You need to have you're not allowed to have a complete bike. You can have another bike in parts. That's when it starts getting expensive. Having all those bits which you need to replace within a few hours. So
difficult question. How expensive is it? Let's say super stock class. What you need to run a decent.
I think to do it properly, without paying wages. This is just for tyre bills, probably 18,000. Entry fees are probably 4,500. You got fuel, probably another 4,000 in fuel to get there. You got the best part. The new BMWs, I think 31,000. I think by the time you get one of those up and running, probably 40,000. So you're talking I'd say £120,000 to have a proper go at it, try and win the championship.
One man.
Yeah, and that's but you can't allow for crash damage. That's allowing for a bit of crash damage and things like that. But I mean, you might not have any, but you normally do have.
Is it frustrating for you being a team manager and not rider?
It is so nice to watch. When we had Taylor and Richard, and watch what they can do on one of your bikes, because we try and do with Batham's Racing. Have the best things we can. We do get offered free stuff. We do get offered, to be paid for using some of the stuff. But I know if it ain't right,
you don't want it.
We don't want it. We'll have to pay for it. Because you've got to have the best you can have to win races.
Are you a good team manager? I've heard you are. Actually,
I don't know. I do always, the mechanics all get talking and everyone and say, oh, he should be doing that, and I always defend the rider because I know how difficult.
Because you are one.
Yeah,
you're coming from a rider's point. I think for me, the best team managers I've ever had, and I've had a lot over the years, the best ones are ex-riders, and the better the ex-rider, generally the better the team manager.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I'd say so, because you can feel their pain when they're going around. And we had Dan Linfoot, and we were struggling to hell, and we couldn't stop it for lots of different reasons, and we found out it was electronics, on the bike, and as soon as we got it right, he went and he nearly won the race. He was, a hundredth of a second off winning at Brands Hatch, and then the races before he was lying 10th, and is it the rider, is it not? But I always wanted to do the best, so it's something wrong with the bike. That's why I look at it.
Yeah.
That's why it didn't doing the job.
You got any hobbies outside of bike racing? Is you look like you're a man, and you talk like you're a man whose life is completely absorbed in it.
It is. It's every day of the year. You just constantly wake up thinking about. I had a dream last night. I woke up, the sun on my back. There's race bikes going round. There was a few people dotted about, and then a bloody alarm went off. That's it. So you do. It's an illness, and you just can't. You love it, but yeah, I do. I like anything what's like, competitive, of course. But we have these model planes. We all fight each other. Planes. We don't. And there's just, we'd get up to anything just childish, really. We just don't want to grow up.
If you could ride any circuit just once, if you had one ride left in you, and it could be anywhere, where would it be?
In England?
Anywhere.
God, it's so difficult. I'd say if it was my last ever ride, I think it's got to be a lap of the TT, because it's so long. And just with no one in front of you, and you've got the whole road to yourself. I think that would, and that doesn't take anything off like the Northwest 200 and like Macau and short circuit like Thruxton and Brands. It's just a long lap.
You're not scared of it?
Oh, it frightens. It always has frightened me. I don't, if anyone says it doesn't frighten them, I don't know. There mustn't be. I don't know. Telling the truth, I don't think it's scary. I used to have nightmares about it. Well, I still do. But I mean, it's always scared me.
I remember you drafted me into your pit crew. You must have been short. You must have been short of men. And I remember, obviously, you're not coming in till the end of the second lap, and you were lying, I don't know, 34th. You were right at the front.
Yeah.
And I remember leaned on the Armco with the track behind me and the pit and the grandstand in front of me, so I'm backwards to the track. And you're one of the first men to come through, obviously. And you came through, and the flipping, it wasn't even a whoosh of air, it was a bang. It was like and I've never felt that. I've been around bikes all my life, and I've never been that close to a bike doing 200 miles an hour. And I thought, he's too old for this.
Oh, that was years ago as well. You lost me. I
lost you about 400 quid. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't get his visor back on. I was tasked with one job and I failed.
Yeah. Still remember that.
Cheers, Michael.